And I want to address that question first. We have another class. It's called Foundation School. And those of you who attended the current Foundation School, if you attended the old one, you may not get some of these updates. The current Foundation School, you will know some of these things when we teach about the nature of man. All right, the nature of man. And the question, can somebody read the question for me? Then I'll answer it quickly. Have you found it? Or it has disappeared from the group? Have you found it now? All right, talk to me. Read it to me.
Yes, sir. The comment was, I've always been afraid to love because I don't know the heart of men. And this teaching was opening my eyes. Pastor, is it that all the Christian men can't do evil? Is it that they can't be wicked anymore, even while they are not living the rightness life they're supposed to live? That's the question, sir.
Okay. This has to do with the nature of men. Yesterday, I said, a man who is born again has a nature called the nature of sin.
Yes, sir.
With that nature, they can do anything evil. They can be wicked to the extreme. And the one who is born again has another nature, which is called the nature of righteousness. And they can also be as righteous as they would like to. But the key here is the Christian who is righteous in nature and can live a righteous life, right? And can perfectly live a righteous life, may decide not to walk in his righteousness. It's not referring to the man only, or to the guys only. Even the ladies, they may decide, a Christian may decide not to walk in righteousness, even though he could. The same as the unbeliever. As wicked as the unbeliever is, he could also decide not to walk in his wickedness. He could choose to be nice. But inside is the nature of sin. He can switch anytime. Yesterday, I told you, people don't change. Human beings don't change. There is a saying that money change people. No, that is not true. Money doesn't change people. It only reveals who they were all this while. Right? Money only reveals who they were all this while. If somebody was once nice and is now wicked, he has always been wicked. He just chose to be nice for a moment, but the real nature is wickedness. So how then do you know who is who? At least be sure the person is born again. If you have that assurance, the thing is, the one who is born again, God can reach out to that one. God can intervene. All right, because the heart is recreated, the heart is regenerated. So he could actually do right if he wants to. He could. He could. And it's just a matter of decision. It's just a matter of decision. He could actually walk in righteousness. So now, what is the question saying? Is the question saying all men are what? The person has always been afraid to fall in love, right?
Yes, sir.
You shouldn't be afraid to fall in love. You don't know the heart of men. The same as the guys. We don't know the heart of women. We also don't know. And this teaching was opening my eyes. Pastor, is it that all the Christian men can't do evil? Is it that they can't be wicked anymore, even while they are not living the righteous life they are supposed to live? And no matter how evil a Christian will look or will be, he will still be better than the best unbeliever. All right, he will still be better. Because that one, God can intervene for you. God can come in for you. Okay, God can come in for you. Yesterday, I was advising you, take your time. If you are going to get a life partner, take your time. It's very important. Take your time. You will find your type. That dream man of yours, that dream woman of yours, that woman of your dream, you will find him or you will find her. It's just the price to pay is you need to exercise patience. All those who jump into relationship or into marriage, it always ends up in a mess. So take your time and also make good decisions. Don't use carnal things for the judgment. All right? Don't use carnal things for the judgment. Consider so many things. Look into the future. I was teaching a group of people and I was teaching them that you can find a man or a woman who is good for you, but that man or that woman may not be good for your children. If you love your children, you need to consider them even during the selection. The partner may be very good for you, excellent for you. That is the man of your dream, but may not be good for your children. If that is the case, don't be selfish. A lot of times people don't care. They know the lady is AS and he is also AS. Perfect match. They are good for each other. The guy is good. The lady is good. But such a genotype is not good for your children. But sometimes they don't mind. As far as they say we love each other. So they go ahead and they marry. And they give birth to one funny looking SS. All the time is from one hospital to the other. One hospital to the other. That is a mistake none of you should make. If you give birth to SS child, there wouldn't be any doctor that wouldn't know you. There wouldn't be any patient that wouldn't know you. You know all the hospital rooms. Actually, by the time the child is 2 years, you may have used all the beds in the whole hospital. It's a life of hospital to the house, back to the hospital to the house, back to the, that's such a life. If you don't know much about AS, genotype, and those things, get education. All right? We are here. Get education, get counsel. We have a lot of doctors here who can help. Seek advice. Don't now go and give birth to one funny looking child that is giving you trouble all the time. The head, very irregular. You can't tell the shape of the head. Giving you trouble all the time. Then it gets to a time, such a condition will collapse the marriage. Because it gets to a time when both of you are just tired of this whole thing. You are just tired. You are fed up. You completely get fed up of this whole thing. I mean, you can't take it anymore. And most of the time, the man walks out of the house. He's tired. He's going to start a new love, a new relationship. He's tired. So especially ladies, when it comes to relationship, you are always at the victim side. Yes, just imagine you are not financially sound. You have no idea how SS situation is. We call it crisis, the crisis. They can't go 12 hours without pain. They can't go 12 hours. And the funny thing is they can die anytime. They can die anytime. So after spending all your money and wasting all your time, then he died on top. There is no use. That feeling of yours. Maybe I should take a little more time to explain some of these things to you. How this falling in love things works. That thing you are feeling for each other, that is not love. It is not. That is not love. Love is not what starts a relationship. It's a feeling which is controlled by hormones. Oh, those hormones could be crazy sometimes. You have been there before, right? Please don't make your face straight now like you don't know what I'm talking about, please. Right? That hormones just gets so crazy. I mean, it could be so crazy. You can't sleep. You are restless. You can't eat. Why? You are in love. Right? You are in love. So you can't sleep. You can't rest. That is not love. It's just a feeling, which will eventually fade away. It fades away. When it fades away, that is when love begins to develop, after the feeling is gone. Usually, that also marks the end of the relationship because they just tell each other, I don't feel anything for you anymore. That is actually the right time to start love. That is it. You've got it. You are at the right place now. So you know how this works? It starts with the law of attraction. Something will draw that person's attention to you, something. It could be something funny to any other person, but you, that is the entrance point. It could be the voice. And you hear the way that person talk, you just feel like melting away from this world. You like it. It could be the shape. It could be anything, the look. He or she is just good looking. That is the entrance point. The entry point is different from everybody. Yeah, it could be anything. Anything at all. Sometimes I like the way she walks. Buy car. Please, buy car. Stop talking about walking here. Buy car. Then that entrance point starts a hormonal feelings in one person, the first person. Interestingly, that can be transferred to the other person. So when the person will make a move, the eyes, the Bible said the eyes of Eve was open. The eyes of the other party will also be open. So now you start seeing each other differently from the way you used to. Now, the hormonal feeling may start in both of you. It could be strong in one, very slow in the other, depending. It could start strong for both of you. It's okay, depending on how you guys want to go about it. Then finally, you fall in love. What do we mean you fall in love? It means you can now enclose, you can go a little further than the usual friendship. I can tell you certain things I wouldn't have told you before. I wouldn't have told you before, but now I can tell you. We call it what? Bestie, right? Yeah. You can reveal all your secrets, especially when those hormones are high. You could say things you are not supposed to say. Pour all of them out like that. So it goes on, it develops so strong and so strong and so strong. But there is something about this. At that point, the hormones don't allow you to see certain details. There will be certain things about the guy, certain things about the lady that you wouldn't see during that time. Even if you see them, they don't matter to you. The hormones won't allow you. It's so strong that you don't really care. You don't mind. Now, when that feeling goes down, that same thing you saw and you said that is not a problem will now magnify itself before you. If you can still overlook it, or if you can still handle it, now that the hormones are not there, then that is love. Then we say you have loved the person. Because the meaning of the word love is sacrifice. All right? It's sacrifice. So you are now going to see that thing, that the guy is actually like this. But you are ready for it. You are okay with it. You have loved the person that way. Somebody told me a story. Said a woman found out from the husband's phone that the husband has another woman. After she saw it, she never showed any sign that she has seen such a thing. The joy in the house remained the same. Everything remained the same. She never looked bothered. Do you know what happened? She learned to love him because she knew that he is like that. She knew that the guy is like that. And she loved him that way. So when she saw it, she's not bothered. Love has overgrown such a thing. Now say, me, I can't. Me, I know myself. I can't. I will blow off. Yes, that is you. Blow off. It's good. It's good to blow off. All right. So that feeling fades away over time. Then now you begin to see all the details. That mouth you saw and it was pointed and so like a dot. Now you can see it in a different way now. You don't mind calling your boy and you say, Daddy, I thought your teeth were white. I just realized they are yellow. Yeah, you always thought it was white when the feeling was there. Now you can see they are yellow. They are really not white. All right. So friends, take your time. Also learn to control yourself during that moment. All right, when the feelings are high. The smartest person, or those who are smart, they learn to love during the time when the feeling is still there. That is the best thing to do. Sometimes if you allow the feelings to fade, you might not be able to love. Because those things will matter to you so much that you wouldn't be able to love. Okay, this is not a relationship seminar. Let me go to my business for today. I got a work to do. How are you doing? How are you all? Okay, we'll continue with what we left, where we left yesterday. Yesterday, Do you have any other question? Yesterday, we went through Genesis, and you remember this chart? We said a proper look of the book of Genesis, we need to look at it this way in two parts. The first part, Genesis 1 to 11, and the second part from 12 to 50. And these two parts are joined together by 3 verses. This is the best way to look at the book of Genesis. So we went through it all the way when God created the earth, Adam fall, God sacked him out of the garden. Then we began to look at the impacts. We saw the first one represented in the story of Cain and Abel. We saw Lamech. Then we saw the fallen angels. And then we saw God's response to the wickedness. At this time, at this point, we saw that the wickedness of man has reached a place of no return. Nothing could be done about it. God couldn't do anything about it. Why? Because it is impossible for man to be recreated at this time. What I mean is, man could not get born again to receive a new heart at this time. So nothing could be done about the situation. They wouldn't change their mind. They wouldn't stop being evil. So the only choice, the only option God has at this moment is to destroy them. Please follow very well. It will help you understand the New Testament, why our case is different. Because we have been regenerated. That is the reason why we could receive forgiveness. A man who is not regenerated, a man who is not born again, cannot receive forgiveness from God. All right? If you haven't taken foundation school, I will advise you to take foundation school. It's 6 classes, 1 class per day. So you can, if I said a man who is not born again cannot receive forgiveness from God. It is only those who are born again that can receive forgiveness from God. If you have a question, write it down. Don't send it to the chat yet. Write it down. Just write it down. All right. So at this time, man couldn't be born again. Christ has to die. And Christ is not yet here. So God had no choice but to destroy them. Not because he hated man that much. That was the only option available at that time, to destroy the earth. So you know the story. God picked the man, Noah, and he asked him to build an ark, and by which he will save him and his family. I think yesterday we got here when I was explaining to you about how life was preserved. We spoke about the human beings, and we saw 8 people preserved: Noah, his wife, 3 sons, and their wives. Then to the animals, we have clean animals and unclean animals. The clean animals were preserved in 7 each, right? 7 each. The birds were also taken in 7. Then the unclean animals were taken in 2s. I don't know why. 7 is even more than 2, but Sunday school only revealed 2 to us. If you check all your books, they draw the animals in pairs, only 2. They are not 2. The clean animals were 7. And out of the 7, Noah used some for the sacrifice after the flood. He used some of the clean animals. That was the reason for the 7. Okay, so he can use some for the sacrifice, and some will be left to preserve their species. So the earth was destroyed. I missed a slide here. Okay, so God destroyed the earth, just like he told Noah he was going to do. He did it. He destroyed the earth. And then after everything, God commissioned Noah to be the new Adam. So he pronounced the same blessings he pronounced upon Adam, he transferred it to Noah. There is something about creation. God was done with creation long ago, and he's not creating anything anymore. So the new things you see, they are produced by our faith. And God also established systems to provide anything anybody will need. You need to understand this. He's not going to create anything. So when it came to, for the animals, he made a reproductive system. You see, that's why God doesn't like it when somebody is crying and making noise. You need a child. You don't need God to produce a child. I told you of a story where a woman went to a man of God. Woman, what's your problem? She said, Pastor, I need a child. I don't have a child and I need a child. And the man of God said, where is your husband? That was when she remembered that she doesn't even have a husband. Well, you don't have a husband and you're going to disturb man of God. You need a child. For what? She need a child. You see, if you need a child, you don't disturb your pastor. We have a system established to get a child without prayer and fasting. The plants have their own system to reproduce themselves. With or without the aid of man, plants have their own ways to reproduce themselves. Everything, God established those systems. If you need money, you don't cry to God. There is a system. There is a system that will get you money if you need some. Are you still here? So let's look at the blessings here. So let's look at that of Adam. Genesis 1, this is Genesis 1:28. And God blessed them and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply. And that's a spelling, replenish the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish and everything. Look at that of Noah. This is Genesis 9:1 on your screen. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them the same words, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And this blessing is very important. We will make reference to it again. Look at Genesis 9:7. And you, God said, and you be fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth and multiply therein. So God commissioned this blessing from Adam to the man of God, Noah. So we have the new Adam in the scene. Isn't that a good progress? Yeah, it is. Let's move on. Let's see what happened. Now, when God was blessing when God was blessing Noah, he said something very interesting. Look at the words there. Genesis chapter 2, verse 17 and 19. Let's look at it. 17 to 19. And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree which I commanded thee not to eat, cursed is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow, you know this, verse 18, thorns and thistles shall it bring forth. Verse 19, out of soil shall thou eat bread. Look at it here. Genesis 8, verse 20 to 22. This is when God was blessing Noah. I told you from this point, when God pronounced this curse upon Adam, the earth doesn't produce anything, right? It doesn't produce anything. You work so hard to get very little. I mean, so hard to get very little. I'm not sure if Adam told them why the earth was behaving that way, because I'm not sure he told them. So for them, they just thought that is the best way the earth could do. But Adam was quiet. He knew why. So now let's look at what God said to Noah. And Noah builded an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast. Have you seen it? He used the clean beast for the sacrifice. And of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled a sweet savour. And the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground anymore. For man's sake, it was cursed for Adam's sake. Have you seen it in there? Cursed is the ground for thy sake. Now God reversed that curse. He said, I will not again curse the ground anymore for thy sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from the youth. Neither will I again smite anymore everything living as I have done. He didn't just reverse the previous curse. He also gave assurance of the future that he wouldn't destroy the earth with water again, because he has done it several times. He said he wouldn't do it again. Can you see what sacrifice can do? You'll be there when we say sow seed, say you don't believe it. Can you see? One person's seed was the animal for Noah. No, it was God who brought it. But he could have just come out of the ark and say, thank you, thank you, sir. Thank you for preserving our lives. Thank you. And just move on with his life. But no, he remembered something interesting to do. He offered a sacrifice, a thanksgiving offering to the Lord. And by that, he reversed the curse. What about Eve? Now, those words that God pronounced upon Eve, they were reversed in a principle, a spiritual principle called submission. I hope you know the Bible teaches that a wife should submit herself to his own husband. I hope you have read that before. I assume most of you here are leaders, or at least you've been born again for some time. Bible teaches that the wife should submit herself unto her husband. The way this curse upon Eve was reversed is in the principle of submission. When a girl is born, she must be under her father. That is how the curse is reversed first, from birth. So the woman must not suffer. The father must take the curse. The father must overshadow the girl. He must provide for the young girl. She must guide, direct, and do anything. She will be the shelter, right? The father will be the shelter for that little girl, and the girl must be obedient to the father. If you are a lady and you disobey your father, you are in trouble. You are exposed to danger. You could be destroyed anytime, because the curse is out there. From the curse, most people just see the giving birth part. That is the only thing most ladies see. You know, when God said, out of sorrow thou shalt conceive. Yeah, that's the only thing they see. No. So that is the first part. You are supposed to be under your father. That way the curse is reversed. Your father will provide everything you need for you. Then a time comes when the woman, the little girl, is given in marriage. I told you several times, women don't marry. Women are given in marriage. What is the meaning of that word? It is the moment when the authority the father had over, or the father has over the girl from birth until this point. It is the moment when the authority is handed over to the husband. Henceforth, the father wouldn't be the Lord anymore. Is going to be the husband who will be the Lord of the woman. The same thing continues, right? The woman just moved from the shadow of the father under the shadow of the husband. If you are a woman and you are not given in marriage, the authority may not be handed. It may still be with your father. So usually when you go to marriage seminars, those of you who go to every marriage place, you get to a point where they will say, who is giving this woman in marriage? That part is very important. That question is always asked. So the father hold the hands of the woman or the lady, move forward with her and hand her over to the boyfriend who is going to be the husband in few minutes. What has happened here? Exchange of authority. The authority over the lady, which was with the dad, has now moved to the husband. So the husband will be the Lord now, henceforth. The same thing continues. The husband must protect the woman. Is the primary. I don't know why this aspect is not taught in marriage counsel. It matters who counsel you during your marriage. Very important. Especially Africa, they just say some crazy stuff. When I hear those things, my heart, I feel like I don't know what to do. As you are going, you have to respect your husband. Anytime he asks for sex, you need to give him, don't deny him sex, don't deny him food, fill his stomach. If a man is full in the stomach, that is why he is a man. A whole lot of crazy stuff. Nonsense. Young lady, let me advise you. Marriage is not easy. It's not easy. Oh, it's not easy. Is that why you are told? You have not yet even entered. They are telling you it's not easy. So when you enter, what are you expecting? Those things are not part of marriage. Look, if you want sex and you don't have it, you don't have it. Nobody should advise you. No, it's not anybody who will tell you when to give him sex or not. Someone say, Pastor, if you don't give him, he goes out. Let him go. There are those that were giving, they still went anyway. So don't kill yourself. If he wouldn't understand, come and tell me. Let me call him. All right? Those of you that will bless your marriage, you won't have problem. The man wouldn't have that chance to misbehave. You wouldn't. Because the moment the man is not taking his place, the woman is exposed again to the outside world. A woman must be highly protected. And this must be taught the man how to do it. Sometimes even in the absence of the woman. The woman wouldn't be there when the man will be told how to protect the woman. During counsel, it's not all the time that both of you goes. There is a section where only the lady goes, and there is a section where only the guy goes. But today it's not like that. Both of you hold hands, they'll hear everything together. They come home and the misbehaving starts. It's a serious business. All right. So then from now, the husband take over. As far as the woman is submitted under the husband, this curse, she's protected from this curse. She will be provided for. Everything she needs will be given. Good friends, that is the reason for the suffering of most of our mothers. They wouldn't humble themselves under their husbands. Most of the time is from the man though. But you see, what God said here is not conditional. He didn't say submit yourself when the man is good. Irrespective of what is happening, for your sake, for your safety's sake, submit yourself. Don't rebel. If you do, suffering is the next thing. So a lot of times the man walk out of the house and all the burden is now on the woman. Women were not created to do that. Women were never created to do anything by themselves. They were supposed to be helpers. The man doing it, even helping, is by choice. You may choose to help or not. Gradually, our world has changed. If you are a woman now and you are not working, no man wants to marry you. Is that the original plan? No. But why is it so now? Because they like shopping too much. That is also one. So be working so you can be using your own money for shopping. All right. So are you seeing how the curses are reversed now? So the earth we have today is not the same as the earth God cursed. He has reversed it. So our land is really fertile now. Right? If you come to a place like Ghana, even if you sow crops on the road, it will germinate. You see, so you can't say the ground is cursed. Now, something interesting happened. Noah planted a vineyard after the flood. Look at something here. The next new naked Adam again. In the garden, we are told that Adam ate the fruit and he was naked. He realized he was naked. Look at the new Noah, the new Adam. God just blessed him. He planted a vineyard, drank of it, drank his mind off, his eyes off the socket, and now he's naked there. Adam was naked a moment ago. The new Adam is also naked. Look at the way he's lying down there. Does he look like he cares? He doesn't care. He doesn't care. And you know what happened? Little Johnny went in, saw the dad's nakedness. Our boy woke up and cursed him. Curse has entered the world again. Again. A generation is cursed again. Just like it happened in the garden, repeated history. You can read for yourself on the screen. And Ham, the father of Canaan. Genesis 9 is good for you to make some good research. You can tell the source of some people, some group of people, right? Genesis 9 is very good. And Ham, the father of Canaan. So you know the Canaanites, right? Saw the nakedness of his father and told his brothers. He said, come and see for yourselves. Verse 24. And Noah awoke from his wine. I told you he drank his mind off and knew what his younger son had done unto him. And he said, cursed be Canaan. Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. And it went on and on and on. Men are back to the same state again. Now men continue to multiply upon the face of the earth. Then we get to the next Impact number 4, the Tower of Babel. I said everything that happened after Genesis 3 reveals the state of man's heart to you, the impact of the fall. Now, there came a time when these ancient Babylon, those are the Babylonians, they discovered a technology called the brick. You know this, right? You know bricks, right? Even till today, we use it for building, right? They discovered this, and they noticed this could be used for a very wonderful building. It could be used, like, you know. So they said something. Look at it here. Genesis 11 from verse 1 to 4. Pay attention here. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, and they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, listen here, go to, let us make brick and bend them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. Verse 4, and they said, go to, let us build a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest, look at the last part, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the earth. That is where the problem is. The reason why God destroyed the Tower of Babel is the last part. They said what? Lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the earth. Look at it here. Genesis 1 verse 8. We just saw that God said they should be fruitful, multiply, and they should cover the whole earth. They should scatter and fill the whole earth. Adam was gone. The same blessing was pronounced upon Noah. So God is really interested in men filling the whole earth. Now look at these guys. They said, look, let us build one mansion where all of us will be to prevent us from scattering on the earth. What is that? Rebellion against God's blessing. So now that they knew God is interested in the fact that they needed to scatter abroad around the whole earth, they said, no, we are building one massive building that is going to contain all of us here. Nobody's scattering anywhere. That is the reason why God came down and he changed their language so that they can continue to scatter around the earth. Is that clear? Not because, you know, in Sunday school, we were told that because God really saw that the tower was reaching the heavens. So God was like, hey, quick, quick. Else one day we will just be here and we'll be hearing the roof touching the heaven. So let's go and destroy them. No, that was not the reason. I just read the reason to you. God was interested in this scattering around the whole earth. Yet they said to themselves, let's build a tower that will prevent us from scattering around the world. So God scattered them. That is where languages were changed and people can speak different languages. So that is your tower for you. This is where we began to see all the different languages from. And it was a different thing, right? You see the Chinese coming in and everybody coming in. All right. Genesis 11. Is what I just narrated to you. So God changed their language and they scattered around the world. Okay, let's look at the trend so far. What is happening here? God trying to provide opportunity for humans to live in this good world. He wanted them to live good. But they chose. They kept choosing to live the evil way. Right? They chose that. I told you something is wrong with man's heart. You couldn't advise him. He couldn't change. the heart could only do evil, and they love it. Okay. So that is the first part of Genesis. Any question? Let me answer some questions, then I move on to the second section. Any question? If there is any question in the group, you can read it to me. I answer it quick and we move on. Lift my hands in praise to you. These are the expressions of my love. No question? And I will worship you. All right, if no question, let's continue from where we left. Let me give you the screen. All right, so we look at the part 2. The first part we just finished, so it's still fresh in your mind. Now, from the first part, we saw all the impact and how from Noah, wickedness increased again. From one level to the other, wickedness increased again. Evil multiplied greatly. But we are holding on to only one hope. What God said in the garden, that a Messiah will come. That is the only hope we are still looking for. But left to men alone, everything is already out of control. Everything is already out of control. Put yourself in God's shoe at this moment. Imagine you are God at this moment. What would you do if you destroy them? It's not going to solve the problem. If you keep them, they keep hurting you. So what do you do? All right, there is a question here. Why is it that all the images you show are all white people? Does it mean there were no black people? I have a perfect answer to this question. It's because the white people took picture of themselves and they put on Google for me to go and download. The blacks, I didn't see any black picture there. I would have used it. All right. The blacks have theirs on TikTok. They are dancing. And you can't use this one for, you can't use them for this. Have you noticed it? If you go to TikTok, what people are showing technology and nice things they are doing so far. The moment you get one black, he's dancing. I don't know why from this dance thing recently, you know. So if we have our pictures there, I would have used them. The whites have theirs there. So that's what I got to use. All right. Interesting question, right? The way blacks are concerned about their color. Ah, yeah. Don't worry. You want to know the color of Adam, right? And the others. And don't worry. Even if Adam was white, the white didn't save him. He fell anyways. If he was black, it didn't save him. You know. Colors are determined by the geographical location of the earth. Listen well. This black and white thing is as a result of where you are located around the earth. That is the primary reason. If you go to Asia and Europe, you will notice that their hairs, the ladies, they have a long hair. Even the guys, their hairs are not like this. They have enough hair to cover their head. And their nose is pointed with the nostrils very small, right? Is that correct? The reason is because of the cold weather there. So they need enough hair to cover the brain. And also they need a pointed nose and a small nostrils to conserve heat in their body because of the cold. If you come to Africa, this part of the world where there is heat, the hairs are not long and it's not much to expose the scalp to air, fresh air, to cool down the brain. Are you still here? And the nose and the nostrils of Africans are big and open to absorb oxygen, to cool the body because of the heat in this part of the world. That is why when Africans go to Europe and Asia, they feel cold a lot. The nose couldn't conserve the heat. When he breathed out everything, all the heat from his body, everything, because the nose is just, So in reality, if you are in Africa, you don't need to bother yourself to make sure you get a long hair. All you need is to get a well-nourished hair. Not long, nourished. And your skull, your head, should be exposed to fresh air. And these things determine our skin pigments as well. All right. Yes, we have some exceptions where some people in Africa, you know, are white and, you know, but basically, depending on where you are located, these are the features you will have. Somebody say, but I know a white man and the wife who gave birth in Africa, but the baby is still white, pointed nose, and the small nostrils, just like you are saying. It's because of the genes. All right? Because of the genes. These things form over a long period of time. But you know, Africans, they want a lady with a pointed nose. If the nose is pointed, there is going to be a whole lot of heat in the body and she will be giving you trouble because the brain wouldn't function well. It's always hot. I say, baby, I don't like your hairstyle. I want you to get a long, oh, really? Long hair. It comes with its own troubles. So yesterday I gave you an advice. If wife is not talking well, do what? Take off the wig. Take that wig, take it off. Wash the face, let the makeup go. The next thing you will hear is, baby, was I the one, was I insulting you before? Now the brain is fresh now. She has calmed down. She's reasoning well now. Okay. I've been really curious about all this from childhood. Thank God for these classes for you. All right. I forgot about white people. Yes, I told you white people take good pictures and they put it there. Blacks, they are busy doing TikTok. How would you use it for things like this? You couldn't use it. All right. So let's continue our class. Now, From Genesis from verse chapter 11 into chapter 12, the writer traces the genealogy of only one man, Abraham. He went from this, begat this, and this begat this, and this begat this until Abraham. So Abraham came into the story in chapter 12. And this is what hinged both here, right? We said Genesis 12, verse 1, 2, and 3. Connect the whole part, the two parts. Let's look at that. Now the Lord said unto Abraham, get thee out of thy country and thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show you, and I will make of thee a great nation. That was what those Babylonian guys wanted to do. But God is going to give it to this guy for free. I'll make you a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will make your name great. That is what they said. They wanted to make their name great, right? God is going to give it to Abraham for free. And thou shalt be a blessing, verse 3. And I will bless them that bless you, and curse them that curse you. And in you shall all the families of the earth be blessed. That is the key. So these three verses change the whole story. God is not going to focus on men anymore. He has picked one man, and all his focus is going to be on only that one man. The rest are now going to be left on their own. They can do whatever they want. From the promise, from that, let's point out some things. God promised to give Abraham a land. It's a physical land. All right? It's a physical land. There is no spirituality about this. It's a land and a physical land. And God promised to make a nation out of him. Which nation is that? The church, right? Started from Israel, ended up with the church. The third one, God promised to bless him and make him a blessing. And he also promised to make his name great. So God's plan in this is he wants to rescue, he's going to save one man, Abraham. Through him, he will rescue this rebellion world through Abraham. He's going to use Abraham to rescue the world. And the whole earth is going to experience God's blessing through the family of Abraham. All right? The whole earth. So God wants to use Israel to show the rest of the world how he is like. So when we look at Israel, we can tell how God is like. Just like God wanted to do with Adam, that the whole creation will know how God is like by relating with Adam. It failed. He tried it with Noah. It failed. And now God is going to use Abraham. But thank God, Abraham kept his part. Let's look at it again. God said he will make Abraham great, and I've explained that already. So now the book will now take a different outlook. It will take a different outlook now. The first part from verse 1 to this, hinged by those three verses. Then the chapter is now grouped from chapter 12 all the way to 25, talk about Abraham, the man Abraham. Then from 25 to 36, talk about Isaac and Jacob. And then from 37 to 50 talks about Jacob's 12 sons. Right? I'll move a little faster here. Let's start with Abraham. Now, we just look at this. Let me go back so you keep this in mind. The rest of Genesis will now focus on these three people: Abraham himself, Isaac and Jacob's 12 children, right? Yes, there is something common with these three families. There is something common with all of them. What is that? These three families are marked by one, repeated failure. They kept making mistakes that will put God's blessing in danger. This is key, so don't miss it here. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob's 12 sons, they are now the carrier of God's blessing. The Christ is going to come through this family. But what they kept doing, one thing is common with them is they kept making mistakes that will put the blessing of God in danger. In other words, they kept doing things that will prevent God's blessing from coming to pass, right? Then the second thing you will see common to these three families is God kept responding in faithfulness. God was faithful to them. So what he did was, when they make the mistake, God will rescue them, and then he will restore the blessing. They make the mistake again, God will rescue them and restore the blessing. That was what God was doing until Christ was born. Let's look at it. Let's start from Abraham. The slice is finished? Really? What happened? I'm using the wrong slide. Wow, why is this thing stored? That's 2, okay. Hey, what is happening here? A moment, please. Where is this PPT? Where is this PPT? Okay, I got it. I got it. I got it. I hope you can see the screen now. Okay, a better presentation is here. Now I'm feeling like I should give the PPT to you, but some of you wouldn't pay attention anymore. Okay, I have a dramatic one here. I think this is more dramatic, right? So the first part focused on Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and then Jacob and his 12 sons. Now, so I said these are marked by repeated mistakes against God's faithfulness, right? Don't forget these things. You will need these things in the New Testament. All right. Some of these terms I'm using, you will need them in the to understand the New Testament. Okay. So the whole family is marked by repeated mistakes where they kept doing things that will put God's blessing in trouble. But God kept responding by rescuing them and also restoring the blessing. So let's look at the first one from Abraham, Abraham's mistake. You know, many times Abraham denied Sarah. I told you the Bible stories, this is the best way to look at it. If you are preaching it, you may look at other details, but this is the main focus. All right. So we have the first story where Abraham denied the wife, Sarah, several times. He said, she's my sister. She's my sister. And you know the meaning of that? If any other man sleep with Sarah, who is supposed to bear Isaac, the one to carry on the blessing, the salvation of men, is in trouble. Men might have remained in their sin forever. So you know the story. The moment that happened, God quickly intervened. Do you know the stories? Or I need to be reading them? If I want to read them, we won't move at all. So I assume you know these things already. God appeared to some of them in a dream. He said, look, you are a dead body if you try. That's what God said. He told the king, look, consider yourself a dead body if you try to sleep with that woman. Was it the king's fault? It wasn't his fault. Abraham said, no, she's my sister. And the king said, could you give her to me to wife? And Abraham said, yes. It was Abraham who pushed her. He said, okay, go. You can imagine what might have been going through the mind of Sarah. Do you just push me to this man whom I don't love? Did you just do that? But she couldn't also say anything. She went. And this king kept Sarah in a room, and she was just doing waist exercise. She's getting ready for work. Just getting ready. So let me consider 4 rounds. So he's just going press up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Say if I get her, you know. And the Bible said God appeared to her in a dream. He said, look, you count yourself dead if you try it. You know the rest of the story. Out of fear, out of the urgency with which God warned that man, he gave Sarah back and added a lot of gifts out of the urgency, because the scriptures are there. You can read it for yourself. The scriptures are there. I'm not saying you open it now, as though you will read. Out of the urgency. And that happened twice, right? That happened twice. Abraham denied Sarah, and that is going to put the salvation of men in trouble. But God came in. What did I told you here? Man's failure against God's faithfulness. So when Abraham made a mistake, God came in, rescued, and restored the blessing. The second one, Abraham went and slept with Hagar. Hagar was a maid given to Sarah from Egypt. She was an Egyptian. She was the daughter of Pharaoh. When Pharaoh prayed that nonsense, and God warned him as well, he gave the daughter to Sarah to be a maid to her. Now, one day, they just finished dinner, and they were just taking fresh air. You know, if you have been to the village, they always take fresh air outside and having nice time under the moon, the moonlight. So one evening, they were done with everything, and they were just there, and Sarah called Abraham and said, baby, do you remember God said we are going to give birth to a male son? Abraham was like, yeah, I remember. What is it? And Sarah was like, what God said? It looks like you didn't really get it. And Abraham was like, what did God say? He said, look, God actually meant you are going to sleep with Hagar and then have a child. In those days, according to their culture, if your maid give birth with your husband, the child belongs to you. You understand? It was their culture. Even the same thing happened with Jacob. Do you remember? Where the wives needed to give their maid to Jacob to produce the children, and the children belonged to the wife. So by that principle, Sarah brought that interpretation that what God actually meant is you are going to produce child with Hagar. Hagar is a foreigner. The Christ shouldn't be produced with a foreigner. This story, a reference has been made in the New Testament. The book of Galatians made reference to this story. Hagar is a foreigner. So she couldn't produce the Christ, but Sarah didn't understand the whole thing. So Sarah helped Abraham. You see, Abraham was also a bad man already. So the moment Sarah brought the idea, she couldn't resist. After all, she wanted it already. And I said, baby, are you the one saying this? He said, yeah, that's what God said. He said, are you sure? The D-Day, while Abraham was going into the room to perform miracle, she stood at the door and said, baby, are you really sure you are the ones that should go and do this? I hope you won't be talking after. After round one, he came out again and said, baby, I'm on it. Are you sure? Are you sure of this? Sarah was like, enjoy yourself. That's what God said. We are fulfilling God's promise. And you know, Sarah's miracle is the world's problem today. Hagar gave birth to who? Ishmael, who is the father of the Islamic world today. Now the church doesn't even know how we are going to save them. That nation was Sarah's miracle. The miracle she performed by herself, by her own interpretation. Those of you who won't go to Bible classes like this, and you have your own interpretation of the scriptures, this is what Sarah did. That was what Sarah did. And look at the result. Islamic State today. Is that what God said? No, Sarah misinterpreted the scriptures. Have you got these two mistakes so far? Good. So we get to Genesis 15. One day, God appeared to Abraham. And then he said, Abraham, do I have the scriptures there? Wow, this PPT is not complete. All right. One day, God appeared to Abraham and he said, you are going to have children, and your children will fill the whole earth. And when God was having the conversation with Abraham, Abraham wasn't getting the picture. So God invited Abraham out. He said, come out. So Abraham stepped out. And God said, look into the sky and count the stars. Because men are now men of the flesh. They have become flesh. They don't understand spiritual things. Right? That is the state of man so far from Adam. Men don't understand spiritual things. So when God was speaking spiritual language, Abraham wasn't getting it. So he needed to use a physical event to explain what he meant to Abraham. So he invited Abraham out. He said, come out, count the stars. And Abraham couldn't count. He said, yes, that's how your children will be. And Abraham, even though he had no child, he so believed God, what God said, that he is indeed going to have children who will fill the earth, just like God said. When Abraham did that, look at God's response. God responded by going into covenant with him. When did God go into covenant with him? When he believed God. You will find this in Hebrews 11 as well, right? When he believed God. All right, let's move on. I wanted to explain covenants to you, but look, as you can see, I didn't fill the notes. We have two types of covenants. We have conditional covenants and unconditional covenants. Conditional covenant is the type of covenant that happens between two people. And then you give your condition. I give my condition. Then if we agree to keep the condition, then we strike the covenant. But there is the other type of covenant. I will fill the notes. This one, I'll fill the notes, take screenshot and put in the group for you. All right. So the second part is the unconditional covenant. This is where one person keep the covenant without the other person having a condition to it, right? Without the other person. So one person can have a covenant. What type of covenant is marriage? Is it conditional or unconditional? You know, marriage is a covenant, right? What type of covenant is it? Or you don't know?
It's unconditional.
Unconditional. What type of covenant is marriage?
Conditional.
All right. If you grow up in the village, you would think it's unconditional, definitely. Because usually the traditional marriage, is it not only the man that gives ring to the woman? That way, it becomes one part of the whole thing. Because only one is giving promise and also announced to keep the promise. So the wife, the husband gives a ring as a token to the wife. Well, usually we call that engagement. When you engage her, it's a sign that she has been taken, or she's given to somebody already. All right. If I get time in any one of the classes, I'll talk about that as well, rings, what those things mean. All right. It's conditional. Marriage is conditional, right? So God responded in. Now, this is how covenants are made in those days. When two people want to have a covenant, you set a day. And depending on the type of covenant, you take the animals that are responsible for that type. If I buy a plot of land from you, those days, they don't have anything like we are doing paper on it, right? So what they used was covenant. So you take an animal, you go to the plot of land, and both of you cut covenant. That henceforth, Pastor Naya, I am handing my land over to you. And from today, it is no longer mine. It is now yours. If I claim the land back after giving it to you, may I die just like this animal. And may I be cut into pieces like this animal. So what you do is, what they did was, you cut the animal into two, right? And then you lay it apart, one part here, one part here, just like you can see on your screen. You cut the animal into two, one part here, one part here. Then the blood flow to create a blood path. Are you following? To create a blood path. So one of you will stand at one end of the blood path, and the other party will stand at the other part of the blood path. Then after you recite your words that I have given you my land and you are giving me money, or your wife or your daughter or your son or whatever you are giving me in exchange of the land. So now the land belongs to you. And if I claim the land back without your permission, may I die like this animal. May I be cut into pieces like this animal. Then both of you walk through the blood path. You walk through the blood, and then you exchange position. Covenant is cut. Do you understand it? Or I should explain it again?
Is it possible you can explain it again?
All right. I wish I get a good picture for this. But I hope you understand the animal, how the animals are divided, right? I think some of these animals are too dramatic. That's why you are not understanding it. The goat that is killed is still standing with the eyes open, with the horns up. Why would you understand? Look at the goats. So
Pastor, I
I
have a
didn't.
question.
All right, ask your question.
Yes, please. The position of the animals. Some have their heads on the left with their butts on the right. Some also the back on the left and the head at the back. Looking at the cow, for instance, and I don't know whether it's a goat or I don't know. The position of their heads are different. Does it have any significant meaning to the covenant?
No, it's just to share equality. All right, it's just equality. So it doesn't have anything. It's, some of the hair should go this side and some of the legs should go the other side. And then
what about the birds?
Yes, we don't cut the birds. We don't cut birds. Okay. So if you have two birds, usually it has to be in even number. So you put one half at one side, you don't cut it. And then you put the other half at the other side. But you have to kill them. All right. You have to kill them. Then you keep them. We don't cut the birds. Is that okay?
Okay. Yes.
All right. Let me explain this again. The picture on your screen, right? When we say covenant, if you are cutting a covenant, anytime you see the word covenant was cut between two people in the Bible, this is what happened. I'm explaining it to you. Both of you, every covenant and the type of animal that is used, all right, is not the same for everything. So depending on the covenant will determine the type of animal you guys are going to use. So when the day for the covenant is due, you go to a place where both of you decided to cut the covenant. You go there, you kill the animal, you divide it into two equal parts, right? You set one at the left, one at the right, half. And then you allow the blood to flow to create the blood path, right? The blood path is created by the flow of blood from both animals, like the halves. So they create this blood path. We call it the blood path, the path between the two halves. So you have it like this. You wait for it to create a blood path because both of you must walk through the blood, right? You must walk through the blood. So you need to create a blood path. When this is done, like I just said, the birds, you don't cut the birds because it's too small. So you don't cut the birds. You put it in full. Usually it's in even numbers. So you put half here, half at the other side. Then when you have your blood path, one of you will stand at point A. Let me see if I can use a pointer here. Why is it? Okay, let me choose red. So party A will stand here of the blood path, and party B will stand here of the blood path, facing each other. So B will face this side, A will face this side. Then you recite the condition of the covenant. All right, you recite it facing each other. You recite the condition of the covenant. When you are done with the recitation, you exchange position. You walk through, party B will walk through and move to the position of A. And party A will also walk through the blood and move to the position of where B was previously, walking through the blood. When that happened, the meaning is the moment you walk through the blood, you are declaring that if I break my part of the covenant or my condition of the covenant, may I be cut, may I be killed like this animal, and may I be cut into pieces like this animal. That is the declaration you make or you have just made. Do you understand now? So as you are walking through the blood path, it will remind you that if you break your part of the covenant, you'll be killed like this, and you'll be cut into pieces like this. That is the declaration you are making. Is that clear now? You need to understand this, because I'm going to use it to explain the old covenant. All right, you have a question?
How does it work for the birds? Because you said we don't kill the birds. That's what you said.
No, in terms of
blood.
We kill it. We just don't divide it. Okay,
Oh.
You kill them, but you don't divide them because they are too small. All right, so and we have different types of birds depending on the condition of the covenant.
So you don't cut it up, but like what, you wring the neck to get blood?
Yes, you twist. How do you say it? You twist the neck.
Yes, wring, twist, whichever.
Okay, English gurus. So the bird, you make sure the bird is dead. All right, they must die, because you are going to make a declaration that, may I be killed like this animal. So if the bird is not dead, you are not going to be killed like that. Is this one clear? Yes, sir.
I have an image. Let me try to share it.
Okay, let me stop sharing my screen and you share yours. Let's see if you can get a proper image.
I hope it's clear.
Okay, yeah, I saw this image.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, this is yes, this is one way to do it. This is also another way to do it. To get a proper flow of blood to walk through, they use that type of plane where the blood can flow, all right, to create the blood path. This type is called the blood valley. If you can see it, it's like they are slide down so that it can create the blood. The blood path is very important, because that's where you guys are going to walk through to cut the covenant. So you can see one standing here. The picture is not well positioned. The other person is standing at the other side. But this one is the one talking about the Abrahamic covenant. That is why you see only Abraham there. I'm coming there in a moment. All right. Do you understand cutting covenant?
Yes,
Do you get it now?
Yes, Pastor.
All right. Do you all get it? Because I'm going to use this to explain the next slide.
Yes, Pastor.
Okay, good. Let's move on. Messages keep coming. Let me remove this pointer. The messages kept coming in. You are making fun, right? All right. So now this is the one that happened between Abraham and God. This picture is a little too dramatic, but it's okay. It captured the whole scripture. Let's read the scripture and come back to the picture. Oh, I didn't quote the scripture. Okay, can somebody open? You can open your Bible, your own Bible, to Genesis chapter number 15 and from verse 1. Can somebody read for me? I thought I quoted it here.
Genesis 15 from verse 1.
Listen very well. This is the key to the book of Exodus. So pay attention here. All right, let's read.
From verse 1. After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. And Abraham said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is this Eliezer of Damascus? And Abraham said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my in my house is mine heir, saying, this shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thine bowels shall be thine heir. And he brought him forth abroad and said, look now towards heaven and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, so shall thy seed be. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of the Ur of the Chaldees, to give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, where shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, take an heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece against another, each piece one against another. But the birds divided he not. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abraham drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And after that shall they come out with great
Man of God, it's all right. We will be taking those details one by one later on. So it's okay for now. Now, look at the image on your screen. Let me use it to explain all the long stories we just read. Let me show you the picture. What happened? So God asked Abraham that he was going to go into covenant with him. And then he mentioned some animals that should be used. You can read it from the verses for yourself. And a bird. Then he said, I think you can see the birds here. Let me get a pointer. Yeah, I think you can see the birds here. There is one here. They are not cut, right? But they are dead. Can you see it? You can see it, right? And then he divided the other animals into half. If you look at this picture, you look at all the heads are at one side and the tail at the other side. Well, it makes no difference. These are just pictures, all right? So, and then Abraham did just like God said. And then the day came when Abraham created the blood path and all these things, and Abraham was waiting for God. He waited the whole day. Those of you who can't wait, God doesn't respect time. Don't say, I'm keeping late. I'm 20, I'm 34. I'm marrying this year, whether God likes it or not. Abraham waited the whole day for God to come so they can cut covenant. Abraham understood covenant very well. So he was expecting God to come and they cut the covenant. He waited the whole day. And we are told that vultures and those animals wants to eat flesh, and Abraham will stand up and, drive them away. That was what happened the whole day. I think he should have been getting fed up. Say, is he coming again? When God said it was accounted to Abraham for righteousness, you need to understand some of these details. Do you know what it means to lie beside dead animals the whole day under the sun? He's waiting. Was God bothered? He wasn't bothered. Until when it was getting dark. Listen very well. Till when it was getting dark. When do we start getting darkness? Somewhere 6 p.m., right? Abraham should have just stand up and said, well, it's already 4:30 me, I'm going home. You could have just go. He was there because he understands covenant. until it was 6, somewhere when it was getting dark, and the Bible said a deep sleep fell upon Abraham, and that was caused by God. That was caused by God. He slept. And then something like a torchlight, right? Something like a torchlight, a flame of fire was seen walking through the blood path. This is the same description given to the glory of God when it was on the tabernacle. The same thing was seen. And God came. That was God. He came and walked through the blood path. That is why you have these torchlights and those lights here, right? It came and walked through. He came and walked through the blood path. But he didn't invite Abraham to walk through it. He walked through alone. So this type of covenant is unconditional one. Abraham is not supposed to play any role in the covenant. God was going to have the condition and he was going to keep it by himself. Are you following? This is why the Old Testament covenant was cut. And it's the same covenant that went into the New Testament. This is why the covenant was actually cut. It was an everlasting covenant God made with Abraham. Is the fulfillment, is the New Testament is the fulfillment of Genesis 15. I know the class is not getting interesting for some of you anymore. It's like, there's a lot to memorize. Hey, he wasn't expecting this. But good friends, you need to build capacity for this because you need it for the rest of your Christian life. You need it so badly for the rest of your Christian life. So God came in and walked through the blood path alone. He never invited Abraham. So God is representing himself here, and Abraham is representing the human race. So God said, I am going to cut covenant with myself. And I am going to keep the covenant myself. Because if man is invited in, man is going to break the covenant. He will sure break it. So God made a covenant with himself here in Genesis 15. Are you following? So the fulfillment of this covenant happened in the tabernacle in heaven. This is what the fulfillment is. It's coming from here, Genesis 15. So God made an everlasting covenant with himself. He cut a covenant with himself. But he invited Abraham in because he has to represent the human race. So the covenant we have in the New Testament is not a covenant between God and man. It's a covenant between God and himself. So what God was actually saying here is, I am going to become man. So God made a covenant with himself becoming a man. So the man aspect, the Abraham aspect of the covenant is still God in Christ. All right? It's still God. So the two parties here, one will be God himself, and the other one is when he will become man. God himself will become man, not Abraham. So it's a covenant he made with Christ himself. God made a covenant with himself, right? Made a covenant with himself. So he gave this. But if you are making a covenant with somebody, you promise you are going to give a land, you are going to give a child. Look at the words of the covenant. I don't know why I didn't quote this verse here. Can somebody get it for me? Hey, Genesis 15, let's go there. Let's hear the words of the covenant. I thought God would have said, blessed are you among all men. Look at what God said. Genesis 15, I start reading to you from verse 13. And God said unto Abram, is the same man, right? But yet called Abram. Know of a surety, listen very well, that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, Now God is done cutting covenant, so he's going to speak grammar to Abraham. This is not the covenant. This is not the terms and the condition of the covenant. God is done cutting the covenant. So he can't just come and he wouldn't say anything to Abraham. But something that Abraham needed to hold on to, he is now giving him that. He's giving him a prophecy concerning his seed. This is not the covenant. All right. The covenant, the terms and the condition of the covenant is not written here. It's a heavenly covenant. Well, we are studying the Torah, so we don't need to explain New Testament here, right? Look at it. In a strange land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation which they shall serve, I will judge. And afterward, shall they come out with great substances. And for you, Abraham, you will grow in peace and you will die in peace. I thought God came to cut covenants. But do you understand these covenants? Do you understand the covenants? If you don't get this, then you need it. Seriously, you need it. Because all the time you will see in the New Testament, a covenant, you have made an everlasting covenant. This is what this is what the scripture is talking about, this place. This is the covenant. All right, this is the covenant. I will do you guys a favor and I'll talk a little more about this covenant, maybe in one of the classes, because all our Christian life is based on what just happened here. All right, what just happened here. That is where this whole thing of Christianity is from. So I think it will be good you have a proper understanding of it. What about the Christian? The Christian is not in covenant with God. I told you, God never cut covenant with Abraham. If he didn't make with Abraham, it's not you he will make with. As though you will keep your part of the covenant. You know, a whole lot of time people talk as though they will. Do you understand covenant? If you break it, you have to be cut into pieces like these animals. So in the Old Testament, they don't break covenants. They don't. They don't.
Especially
but God knows very well, since marriage is a covenant, which is also a blood covenant. Now, how is marriage a covenant? Why is the blood part? The virginity of a woman. That is the blood path. Are you here? The virginity of a woman, that is the blood path.
no one of the Bible say.
What did you say? Somebody said, Pastor, don't go there. One funny guy walked through that blood path already. And he's not even anywhere here to be found. You can imagine. Let's leave it. Let's leave that story. Let's leave that topic. Okay. Let's focus on Abraham. The
No
Abrahamic
wonder marriage is not.
Oh,
What were you saying? You were saying something. I didn't hear you. I told you I love your comments. I want to hear your comments. Talk to me. Oh, you are asking we should find out how many people are virgin here. Is that what you were saying, right? Someone said, no, Pastor, no.
Pastor, I have a question, please.
All right, ask your question.
Yeah, just on what you were about to say, and you said you will not talk about. I wish you could go into
What
it
is
a
that?
little bit
What is that?
about the covenant in marriage. That is the virginity of the woman. Okay. What is the covenant? Okay. in the marriage where both parties have broken their virginities? Is it the ring or the vows they pronounce to each other? What exactly represents the covenant in such marriage?
That is why the whole thing becomes, the marriage becomes alteration. You know alteration, right? When the
Yes.
original is not there, so you just have to put some pieces together to form something that looks like it. That is why God says, stay away from it, because the whole thing becomes something you can't even talk about. Yeah, just imagine it for yourself. What is supposed to be used for the covenant is already broken. Another person cuts the covenant already. So yes, talk to
please
me.
go ahead. Go ahead.
By the way, she's married, so she's asking. You know, when girls are asking questions, it's different from when women are asking questions.
So in this case, is there any repercussion, okay, after the marriage, since the covenant has already been broken? Is there any repercussion that will have, that both couple will have later on in their lives or on their children?
Yes. Yes. You know, this question, you can see I really don't want to talk about this, because you make most of us feel very uncomfortable this hot afternoon. You see. So I don't want people to feel uncomfortable. Already they are following the Abrahamic covenant. Just want them to go home with that blessing. I don't want them to feel another feeling now. So I really don't want to talk about it.
It's a teaching class, so we need to learn.
How many of you wants to hear it? How many want me to talk about it?
I want to hear it.
Hello, Pastor.
Yes, sir. Talk to me.
We have a suggestion for that.
Okay.
And I was talking with Pastor John about it. So to cut the story short, we'll organize a relationship seminar for this purpose.
My dear, they won't come. They won't come. Don't bother yourself. They won't come.
Those who will come, let them come.
They won't come.
At least
even
a little bit.
This one that is the everlasting covenant that will change their salvation. Even that one, they are not coming. How much more relationship? Class, they won't come. Don't bother yourself. Pastor Ruth, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying that I believe they will come, but at least a little bit of what we are doing right now.
Yes, somebody brought a better suggestion. He said, let us stay with Abraham's covenant things. Let's stay with that. And I think I agree with that.
Let's stay with Abraham's. Teach us that one. When we come to a marriage, whatever, then you can go to that area, please.
Yes.
I think that I personally want to know much about Abraham and my relationship in Christ. Not that the other one is important. It's important, but I don't think that I am here because you said you are teaching us about the Torah. We just stay with it. I think it's better.
Perfect. I agree with you. Let us just stay with Abraham. All right.
Yeah.
Leave virginity alone.
Yeah. Let's leave virginity.
Let's move on. Everybody, case die. Abraham. And God will walk through the blood path, right? So watch your screen now. Everybody watch screen. Watch screen now. Do you understand this part very well? Is it okay? Are you okay with it? I'm tired. I think we should end it here for today. Looking at things, 2 weeks is not enough for us to complete the classes. So we will go 2 weeks. We will take a break and then rearrange for when we will complete. All right. Okay. Do you have any question? Apart from Yeah, do you have any question? You guys are really interesting. Do you have any question? But you know, these questions you are asking, they are very, very important. All right, it's very important you know about these things. Very, very important, because most of us don't know about these things. Nobody taught us, nobody knew anything about this. You know, look at, we just described covenants. Most of us even don't know anything about this covenant until today. So we all know marriage is a covenant. But hey, it's not that we are looking at the whole thing. You see, now we have seen animal cut aside with a blood path and somebody walking through it. And we strike it to marriage. It's the same thing. The blood path is there. The animal's kill are also there, divided into both sides. You see, for a walkthrough. All right. Any question? Let me answer your questions and I check out.
Okay, sir. Can I ask a question, please?
Go ahead.
Okay, so with the Abrahamic covenant, you showed two pictures. The first picture was the one that it had the sheep. I don't know, sheep, and then there was a path, the blood path. And the second one was the one with Abraham lying beside the blood and the animals. Okay, now what's the difference between this one, the one on the screen, and then the second one? And you made mention of that it has a connection. Now, the unconditional covenant does not include nobody. It includes God, and it's connected to man, and is connected to Jesus. That part, it's really confusing. And if I could get some clarity there, I'll be so much thankful.
All right. You know, this class, I actually intend to show you the Old Testament part of the whole thing. And then there will be a need for another class where these things are, where you are now brought into the New Testament to see the fulfillment of these things and how they are today connected to we as Christians. Okay, let me start with your question. First one, the picture on your screen here. Don't keep these pictures in mind. All right, they are just for reference. They are just for reference. But there is not a proper way you could describe this without showing pictures. If you can see, if you look at this picture, the animals with their heads, like somebody pointed out, right? But if you look at this one, all the heads are at one side. So these are just pictures. These are just pictures. And then this picture, it has no meaning. I just brought it to explain covenants to you in general. Okay, this picture is just to explain covenants to you in general, what covenant is, how covenants are cut, right? So this is not talking about the Abrahamic covenant. It's just to show you how covenants are cut. Then this one is the one I'm using to explain the Abrahamic covenant to you. And then I showed you, if you read the scriptures, what Pastor Rabuti read to us, and if you are watching this picture, you will notice that everything is here. It talks about the birds coming to pick the carcasses of the animals. They are all there. That's the bird standing there, vultures, and then Abraham there, a deep sleep. And then the Bible said there was a cloud, like a horror. You will see something like that drawn here. You know, so the picture just dramatically put everything together for you. So when you are looking at the pictures, follow the scriptures carefully instead of looking at the pictures more. All right. This torchlight to represent God here, actually, this is not how it is, but just for reference sake. Okay, just for reference sake. Okay, so the part of God cutting covenant with himself. Yes, I know it's very difficult to understand. That one I know. Very technical to understand. But we have another part of it in Genesis 17. So I'll just advise, let's keep on with the classes. It will get clearer along the way. Is that okay? It will. Because I really don't want to go to the New Testament now. It will make our classes so long, so long. So let's just look at the Torah, what happened in the Torah, and then we will strike it to the New Testament to see what happens there. I hope this helps for now. So hang around, all right? Any other question? One more question and we close, we check out.
So all this thing, the unconditional covenant and the conditional covenant is in Genesis 15, right, sir?
No, this one on your screen is neither conditional or unconditional. This is the setup for a covenant. All right. This is a setup for a covenant. Until both parties, A and B, they are the ones that will determine whether it's going to be a conditional covenant or unconditional. Let me give you a little more description. Unconditional covenant, when party A stand here and they made their recitation, sometimes it's only one party that walks through the bloodline to the side of the other. The other party is not allowed to walk through. Usually, that is the type of covenant kings make with their people. Only the king will walk through the bloodline, the blood path. The people don't go through. So he will make a declaration through a covenant to his people that he is going to be a faithful king. And then he's allowed to keep this covenant alone. The people are not involved. If he break it, he will die. Do you get it? And if you do this, there is a spiritual element that backs this, that makes sure this is maintained. It's not broken. So this picture here is not conditional, it's not unconditional. The conditional and the unconditional is not determined by the animals. It's determined by both parties. All right, it's determined by both parties. You can have an unconditional covenant with your wife. Here, only one party is going to take the vow. And you know what that's the implication of that. Just imagine only the husband goes to stand and said, I will take you as my wife, beloved wife. I will love you for the rest of my life. And that is all. The woman didn't say anything. That means the woman is not binded by any covenant. She is free to walk out. Right? That is unconditional. Only one person keeps the terms and conditions of the covenant. The other party is free. That is an unconditional covenant. But conditional ones, both of you, all right, both of you bind yourself with some terms and conditions, depending on the type of covenant you are cutting. We have different types. So depending on the types of the type of covenant you are cutting, both of you come out with your terms and conditions to be kept. And if one party break it, you die, or whatever could depending on what you declare to be done to you, will be done to you. Is that okay? So this picture is just to explain covenant to you in general. Then this one is the one that talks about Genesis 15. This is a perfect setup, perfect picture of Genesis 15. You can read it. Read Genesis 15. Take screenshots of the picture on your screen. And then read Genesis 15, looking at the picture. I think it will help a little more understand it, okay? Is there any other question? I'll look for a video. I have a video here, I think. I'll watch it well. If it is not too dramatic to confuse you the more, I'll put it in the group. I'm very careful. The images I show you and the videos I recommend for you, I'm always very careful because it will give you a very wrong picture that will destroy everything in your mind. All right, any other question? If no, have a glorious evening. A minute, please. These teachings were brought to you by Truth Announced. And I want to announce a project we are doing to you. And we will need your support. As you can see, we are all young men and young ladies, but we are doing mighty things. We have some projects we are doing. We have started already, and we have others coming up. We want to sponsor some school children, some people to go to school, those who find it difficult to pay fees in some countries. So far, we are considering 5 countries so far, and we have already worked on one and as an experiment, and we are looking at the others. Some of these people have school fees as low as $100, for which they are not going to school, but they are very good students. We want to pay those fees so they can go to school. Some of them have school fees as low as 70 RMB per term, for which they are not going to school. Yesterday, I got a message. A young, nice lady was sacked out of school just from very little school fees. We want to help these people. People of God, if we are not doing this type of things, our existence has no meaning. It has no meaning. If you are not helping another person solve this Adamic problem in the world, your existence has no meaning. Like we are just studying, Adam brought a problem to the whole world already. Some people are adding more to it. Some of us are also trying to solve the problem as much as we can. So you have to belong to one side of the equation. So we are calling on you. In case you are here, God has blessed you. I'm not saying you have enough dollar account, but any blessing, any level of blessing God has blessed you with, we want you to help us reach out to these people. Maybe by next week, we will show you pictures of the first group of students who are now being sponsored to go to school. We will send the pictures to you. You will see the pictures. And I think the original occasion is coming on the 14th. It will be on Zoom. You can join in and see live. So you don't say, Pastor Naya went to copy some pictures somewhere. No, it's going to be on Zoom. You can watch it live for yourself. I am not there. I won't be there. I'll be on Zoom, but I'll watch it. And I can't wait to see those pictures, those videos for myself. So we want you to be part of it. We want to sponsor more of these children to go to school, all right? High school level, secondary school level. So we are calling on you. Send us RMBs. Send us dollars. Send us your home country currency. If only you want to donate, just let us know. We'll give you the best way to send those donations in. And then we'll reach out to those people with your money. You'll see your money working for you. All right. Thank you so much. And God bless you. See you tomorrow.